Our next presenter is Marc-André Roberge, and he's from a company called Nectar. And Nectar helps beekeepers to raise more productive bees to secure our food supply. So please welcome to the stage Marc-André.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark. I'm one of Nectar's co-founders and the company's CEO. And at Nectar, we give honeybees a voice. So as you probably know, biodiversity loss is one of the biggest threats against our food supply. And everyone in the audience should care, since about a third of the food that we grow, crops like almonds, avocados, and canola, depend on insect and honeybee pollination. And as we're ever more planting more acreage that are dependent on pollination, and with wild pollinators dying, our dependence on honeybee pollination has dramatically increased over the past years. The thing is, honeybees are also affected. Every year, beekeepers lose between 30 to 40% of their colonies due to different factors. To cope with that increasingly hostile environment, beekeepers have to increase their inputs and their labor to keep more of their hives alive. And this creates risk both for the beekeepers, the farmers, and our food supply. At Nectar, our mission is to help the beekeepers and the growers build a resilient food system. Using machine learning and sensors, we provide a product that is declined in 3 technologies. The first one is a precision beekeeping platform to help beekeepers raise thriving colonies while decreasing their cost. The second one is a precision pollination platform to help growers optimize their pollination services. And we're also building the world's most robust pollinators health data set to help optimize toward biodiversity to decrease that risk. Our solutions stem from the same technology. We provide the world's most scalable in-hive sensors to capture key insights from the hive's health, behavior, and strength. We then provide actionable insights to both the beekeepers and the growers to get the most out of their bees, not just data, but really translated data to make sure that us humans understand the language of bees. Then we compare the health of bees to the agricultural practices to measure the impact on these practices on the health of surrounding wild insects. It's my pleasure to announce that following last year's start of our field trials and raise of our round of financing, we'll soon be launching our pilots in Australia with a group of forward-thinking growers and beekeepers that understand the value of investing in securing their pollination supply chain. So Nectar will be the company that will increase honeybee survival rate and help beekeepers make more money doing so. We will ensure that growers benefit from efficient pollination services, and we will drive change in agriculture to make sure that beekeepers, growers, and ourselves are building a resilient food supply where biodiversity is considered a key factor to feeding our planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I actually, in preparing for this, looked up some bee jokes. And
go ahead.
No, there are hundreds and hundreds of bee puns and bee jokes.
If there are investors in the room, we got a sweet deal for you.
Ah, well, I have a question for you, and that was, what would you call a bee on a bad hair day with weather like today?
Sorry, what?
What would you call a bee who's having a bad hair day on weather like today?
Good question. I don't know. Go
A
ahead.
frisbee.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, that was terrible. Listen, thank you. I'm here all day. So such an important effort that you're taking on. We hear so much about colony collapse and how critical bees are to our food supply. Now, it looks like you were doing some amazing trials in the US, across all of North America. And you mentioned some of the benefits that you have been able to unlock. Can you just give us an idea of some of the upside potential? You know, you talked about increasing yield, reducing manual effort. What
Sure.
were some of the results that you saw from your trials?
Sure. So the main thing is for beekeepers to be more reactive. So basically, right now, every single one of their observation is manual. Like they have to get to the hives, pop up the lid, look up at the bees to try to interpret what's going on, and then react. So with our technology, they can actually show up and see how the bees are doing. So that's one thing. The second thing is we've put together an A/B testing tool for them, so they can measure different management practices and the impact that it has on the bees. Currently, they don't really have any tools to be able to see if one treatment versus the other is having good effect or a bad effect. So that's pretty key for them. And something new for us is helping the growers themselves optimize their pollination services. So part of the product is to be able to source the hives according to their actual pollination capacity. So we've put together analytics that take into account the number of bees that you see in the hives, the number of foragers that will be there, the quality of the queens, kind of all these things to make sure that they're sourcing healthy hives and then dispatching them in the orchards in a way to ensure maximized pollination.
And those machine learning models, are those specific to the data that you're ingesting from that particular farm or region, or is that looking at universal data sets from your Intel for
So
hives across the
yeah,
world?
interesting question. So it's a bit of both. So the data set itself is something that we're creating. The models are based on our science, but also white papers, like academic papers that are pretty solid. But then we do have user input and then context-dependent inputs, such as weather, soil, kind of all the things that could go into account on the health of the bees, but also health of the surrounding biodiversity.
And your sensors, are they able to withstand the conditions inside a hive? The honey, the wax?
So initially we didn't think about building our own sensor. I mean, we didn't think that we would have to build them, but turns out that there's nothing in the market that really takes that into account. So we've had to cope with the bees that would try to chew everything, put wax on everything. So it's a pretty special environment, but it was a good challenge, and the sensors we have do take on that challenge.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much,
Thank you.
Marc-Andre. Thanks for being here.